The Chrome Dome brothers.
They're the top broadcast crew in the MASL.
I think that's what they believe.
Well, I knew I liked Nick Vassos, but I'll tell you, Eric Birdwood, I'm not too sure about after that comment. Jeez.
I didn't hear any lies. Alex.
Nope.
Nope.
Welcome to MASL Monday, everybody. Alex Bastiavansky, Phil Ivanko, it is the Chrome Dome brothers back for another session here. And I will admit, all ready to bust their chops this week. Nick and Eric. And unfortunately, I can't do it today, which it makes it a double whammy because their Chiefs took down my Buffalo Bills last night. At some point, this has got to change. I mean,
everyone's
seriously.
tired of the Chiefs. Everyone's tired.
Everyone's
tired of the Chiefs. Like, we can't, I don't know. I know we're supposed to acknowledge greatness and things like that. And we're going to acknowledge some indoor soccer greatness today. But I'm just tired of the red. I'm tired of number 15. I'm tired of 87. I'm all of it. All of it.
You're not tired of Taylor Swift, though, are you?
I mean, I think I'm a bit too old for that sort of stuff, right?
Your daughter must be a huge Taylor Swift fan, though.
She is, for sure.
Okay, so you get your fill of it in the house.
Yeah. Taylor Swift, Shawn Mendes, all that sort of stuff.
Listen, I don't hate the Chiefs. I have total respect for the Chiefs, but do you actually hate the Chiefs? Is this a hate thing?
I mean, it's just like I was tired of the Patriots, and now I'm tired of the Chiefs. This is just a me thing, of course.
Seventh straight.
Yeah.
Wait, no. How many straight times have they been to the Super Bowl now?
I think it's a bunch. I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Bengals made it in 1 year. Bengals made it in 1 year to break it up. I think that's it. Anyway, we're talking a lot of football, but yeah, I'm a little stinging today, folks, due to my Bills once again failing to get to the big dance. But you know what? We've got a great show today and a much more normal show. There were no brawls last week.
Yeah.
To speak of. No big suspensions.
Welcome to all new viewers, right?
Yeah.
That are watching.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking for, if you're looking for a good brawl, folks, you're not going to find it today. But what we do have today that should make it interesting is Phil and I have got our mid-season report cards so far for each team, which we're going to go over. And we're going to do it as we go through sort of, each team's games from the weekend. So let's start with the big one, Phil, that we were so pumped to watch. And this opened eyes, no question about it. KC hosting the defending champion, the twice defending champion now, Chihuahua Savage. KC, they climbed that mountain. They slayed the giant. They take him down 5-2. What did you think?
I want to get away from the narrative for half a second about the home road splits, right? Let's talk about how they play away.
Right.
They slow down the tempo. They sort of are weary of the counterattack. They know that Kansas City Comets want to run in transition. So they really sort of wanted to control the pace and the tempo of that game. And they did for most parts, but I think a couple things happened. One is the Comets got out in front, which forced Chihuahua to have to play a little more offensive, and the Comets were able to hit them on the transition game that they like. And then Philip Ejimadu had an absolute blinder of a game. I think he's the undisputed number one now. I think it must be said. We've been tiptoeing there. We've been in the kiddie pool. I think now.
You asked that question straight up. Is there a goaltending controversy in Kansas City? I think it was more like a wrecking ball than tiptoeing around, like a bull in a china shop. But no, it was great. And Vandegrift, 2 goals in the game. Chad came up huge.
Which is, I was looking, has he ever scored? As long as the records are on the website, which only goes back to 2021, I did not find another game of Vandegrift's that he had a multi-goal game. So this could be his first multi-goal game of his career. And he had a great defensive game as well. And then on the other side, Escalante and Vandegrift were the highlights pointed out by our broadcasting rivals, and they sort of both came to play. And Hernandez was in net, not Reynoso. Hernandez was in net for Chihuahua, and he had a wonderful game as well. So really fun to watch, really intense game, got chippy at times. And it was just a fantastic game. Comets really, really needed that one. That was a must win.
And they got to win those games against Chihuahua outside of corner sport, right? Like on your home floor, that's the time to take down Chihuahua. They're still trying to crack that code when playing in Mexico up to this point. So let's do our grades so far this year for these two teams. Phil, what have you got for Chihuahua so far?
So I do have an A-, right? I think the corner sport games are in a league of their own. They play there, and the rules are different, and the tempo is different, and they're unbeatable at home. But when you get away, This is where Chihuahua has to prove really that they can win a road game, right? They lost San Diego, lost Kansas City now. That Tacoma game was a close one all the way to the end. We've talked about that for a long, long time. So for me,
St. Louis at home as well.
Yep.
And
So
Dallas even gave them. Was it Dallas? Yeah, it was Dallas, wasn't it? Last week, they gave them a good
home
little
games
run.
for sure. But yes,
Home games, yeah,
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
So not for me an A minus until they sort of get that victory on the road.
Okay, I've for Chihuahua, I've given them an A. The only thing that would, I mean, A plus would be better, and if they were undefeated on the season, I would give them an A plus. But I mean, it's tough to argue with. I mean, they're tied for first overall with 26 points, 9-2-0 so far this season, plus 57 goal differential, by far the best in the league. Again, the only thing keeping them from being perfect in my books is the fact that they are not perfect on the season so far. Yes, all those points you mentioned, completely valid. But look, they're tied for first in the league. It's tough to give them for me anything but an A, considering also their schedule, how difficult their schedule is as well, right? So, and what do you have for Kansas City so far?
I've got an A minus. 2 overtime losses. That one game in San Diego, which I think they wanted a better performance. I'm not on a big branch there saying that. The Milwaukee game must be said, right? I think they sort of deserve the 3 points in that one too. So when you take a look at the Comets season overall, I've got him at an A minus. It's good to see Zach Riggies get back on the score sheet. He was held without a point for 4 games before this one. So once they start to get the team back together, they have a couple more guys that they need some offensive contributions from. I think the Comets will start humming again. A minus for me.
Okay, B plus for me. Just looking at them so far, 6-1-2. 2 losses in overtime, 1 in regulation time. Slight tier down right now from the top 3 of Chihuahua, Baltimore, and San Diego. But I mean, that could very well be an A minus as well. But no, I mean, great season from KC so far. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say that was the debate for me. A minus, B plus. It might be semantics there for which way to go, but no argument for me on that grade.
Okay, how about this? We've got the Utica segment we've got to go through here. Utica, Milwaukee. 2 games this weekend. Utica took the first one on Saturday, 10-6. Milwaukee second, 6-5 on Sunday. Should we do this segment, I guess, Phil? Let's just keep going with this, and then
let's just roll with it real quick, right? 2 great games.
Insane.
Talk to Coach Jules before the Saturday game. What an insightful guy. Analytical answers, honest answers. Couldn't thank him enough in that little
good Canadian boy
interview there. Yeah. So Tony Wall scores the first game on Saturday and does Kelvin's little ice cold celebration. And then Kelvin responded with 8 points, which is just hilarious.
8 points. Yeah, this was his first game back too, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It was his first game. Got a huge
5 goals, 3 assists.
Cheer from the crowd, and was just a man amongst boys in that game. He really, really was. So Sunday's game now, if we can fast forward, 6-5 result for the Wave. So Milwaukee kind of double teaming, sometimes triple teaming Kelvin on that one. He's the story.
They held him to 1 point. They held him to 1 point, didn't they? Which I don't think he's been held to 1 point in any game that he's played in so far this season. Right. So unbelievable. Utica ties it in the final minute of play
with an unbelievable pass from Vinny Dantas, who had a great game. The vision he had on that backdoor pass was immaculate. And then we've got a 5-5 game. We're looking like we're heading into OT, and just an unfortunate incident from Utica's goalie, Andrew Coughlin. It's a difficult moment. He's saved more goals than he's let up over the course of his Utica career. So,
listen, he's built up credit, as we say, right? Enough credit to draw from, where when you make a little mistake, he's done so much for his team over the years. Before we get to the grades here, he's a good friend of yours. Have you talked to him since?
No. You don't talk about these kinds of things. You just kind of let them sort of, you want to stay away from these moments as much as possible. But heartache for sure. No question about it. No question about it.
Okay, so I mean, 2 great games though, and let's go over our grades real quick here. First for Milwaukee so far this season, you got them at a B plus.
I got them at a B plus. I think when we look at Milwaukee's season, they're well coached. They've got a great offense. They've got an even better defense to be honest with you. Willie B's had a great season so far. I've got him at a B+ because the Kansas City game at home and this Utica game, that's 6 points right there. How would that look if it's gone the other way? So Milwaukee's got some room for improvement, but they're a great team. And Tuesday's game against Chihuahua is going to be a fascinating
massive
morning game, which is a bit weird. How are the legs on both of these teams traveling? What an amazing contest to watch on Tuesday morning.
Well, we saw KC was able to take them down. Will Milwaukee be able to be? I've got Milwaukee at a B+ as well. Utica, Phil, you've got them sitting at a B right now.
Yeah, I've got them sitting at a B, but you really should grade them twice, right? With Kelvin, without Kelvin.
Different
team. With Kelvin, they're an A. And without him, they're probably like a C, right? So you average those two. They need more scores. They need more offensive production from other people.
Have they won a game without Kelvin this season, by the way?
Certainly not the Baltimore games.
Check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got them at a B-, and the big question for me is being, can they win those big games without Kelvin? They're 4-1 so far this season. Okay, that was a long first segment. We got a ton to get to still, so we're going to take a quick break. More MASL Monday coming back in just a moment. Welcome back to MASL Monday, everybody. It's Alex Bastiavansky and Phil Levanka back here on CBS Sports Golazo as we continue to go over what went down on the weekend and also give our report cards. God, I love being the one that actually gives grades. I hated getting grades when I was in school back in the day, and now I get to give them as a broadcaster. It's so much more fun like this, Phil.
I love this content meme, this content device of just giving grades. You're right. There is something better about just being like, this is what you get.
This is what you get. Now, of course, are we going to get some blowback? Absolutely. We are. Then again,
that's how this works.
But that's just the way it works, right?
Yeah.
Let's go over St. Louis, 2 big games on the weekend. And Baltimore, they got smoked 8-1 against the Blast. The Blast just continued to roll along.
Yeah.
Harrisburg fell to St. Louis 5-4 on Sunday in dramatic fashion. You were convinced that St. Louis saved their season with that win over Harrisburg. Tell us why.
100% saved their season, right? Comeback victory in the fourth quarter. Harrisburg again loses a late lead, but doing some math, which is never my strong suit, talking about grades, right? Ambush now sit on 8 points, right? They would only have 5, and the Heat sitting on 7 would have 10. That's a 5-point gap, for the team that we had so many high hopes for coming into the season. All of the free agent signings. Well, the only one that really played this weekend was Frank, and he didn't score in Harrisburg, which is statistical quirk. That's an absolute favorite of mine, that over the last 2 seasons, he has no goals at Farm Show Arena, which is
that's
hilarious.
Bizarre.
It's so bizarre.
You see Kelvin when he faces Harrisburg, and he's just absolutely shredded them, right? So that's a statistical anomaly. There's no question about it. So
bizarre. But we love Frank, but that's hilarious.
It is, but even Frank would laugh at that.
Yeah, I mean, totally.
It's bizarre. You think you would pick them apart, but Harrisburg did pick up a win, dropping Dallas. I mean, huge. Against the team they're going to be battling for a playoff spot. Dallas right now in that 8th and final spot. So a big win for Harrisburg, as you say. Not really. I wouldn't consider that an upset in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't think it's an upset.
2 teams that have played a lot better. If you're just looking at the record, you would say, so far this season, Dallas was 3-8 and Harrisburg's 2-6-1. But compared to last season, they're much more solid this year than last year, Phil.
Yeah, and I always like to consider Harrisburg a heat check type game. Like if you've got all your buttons in a row and you've got everything all lined up, 3 points should be in the bag for you. But if you've got a crack in that armor anywhere, Harrisburg will find it. They're well coached and they'll expose it. Dom Francis had a great game against the sidekicks there. And they're really not one to be. They're going to pick off some more points this season. They're in a playoff push. I don't care what you say. Harrisburg sitting at 10th with 7 points. They're going to pick up some points. And I think we're going to be doing the show come March, maybe, mid-March, being like, Harrisburg, why not can make the playoffs?
Yeah. And you're pretty convinced about Dallas because of the fact that they get Texas 5 times, 5 or 6 times down the stretch. I mean, so, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say games like this one, though, they sort of will rue, I think, if they see themselves outside looking in. We sort of expect them to pick up some points against the Outlaws in the tail end of the season. But with the way that they're scheduled, they've got Utica coming up. They've got Chihuahua again on the schedule. These are games that they really needed to get 1, maybe 2 points, obviously 3 for the win. So it's not an upset by any stretch, but they got to start bringing it.
We got 3 minutes, so let's do our grades. Baltimore 9-1-0 so far this season, tied for first place, 26 points. What are you giving them?
So categorically an A, I think, indisputable evidence here. They got a tough February coming up, so we're going to see a lot more. We'll talk about Baltimore a lot more, but they got Diego's returning soon. Melo is healthy. Pereira's on the road to recovery. The thing I'd like to see from Baltimore, Coach Bascom, you got to pick a goalie. I think we've been rotating back and forth. Yeah. We've seen what it's done in Kansas City, right? Kind of sticking with Ejimadu. What's the whole hockey adage, right? If you don't have a number one, right? Or if you're playing 2 goalies, you don't have a number 1, right?
Yeah. It's
so
good to have
1.
It's good to have depth. There's no question about it. But there's 2 different ways of looking at that, Phil. Some coaches are really happy to have 2 guys they feel confident enough to throw in any situation. So there is that. So you don't necessarily have to have, unless it's one guy who's just so much better than everybody else. You're absolute rock star, But you've got 2 really good goalies in Baltimore, so I don't think it's the end of the world. But I've got them now. I gave them an A-, and yes, they're tied for first place. And this is nothing against the Blast. They've played great this season. They've done what they have to do. Aside from the 1 loss, they are perfect. I'm just docking them, making it a minus because of the strength of schedule. I'm sorry, no Chihuahua, no San Diego. But it's nothing that they've done so far. They can't help the schedule, but that's one reason why I'm just docking them a half point, I guess you could call it there. So let's look at St. Louis, 3-9-0 this season, 8 points, 9th in the league, as we mentioned, fighting for a playoff spot. Phil, you gave them a C. I did too.
I think it's just been an okay season, underwhelming, probably, to be honest with you, with expectations coming in and all of the roster additions that they put in. Took them a little while to sort of figure out a system, figure out where to put the pieces. So we're seeing a little bit more now, but I don't know. My question is it too late in the season? Because their schedule gets really tough really quickly.
Yeah. Harrisburg, 2-6-2, 7 points, tied for 10th in the league right now with 7 points. You gave him a C. I gave him a C as well.
Yeah.
They have played 3 less games than the Ambush, though. So, they're only 1 point behind as well. But what's your take on Harrisburg so far?
So C for Harrisburg, C for St. Louis. This is an expectations thing, right? Plus goal differential, only -11 for Harrisburg as opposed to -27 for St. Louis. I think the offense is better, frankly, on Harrisburg than it is for St. Louis. It's the defensive side of things. If they picked up those 2 wins, they would have 6 more points, and it would look like a heck of a more optimistic season.
For sure. And Dallas 3-8-0, 9 points, 8th in the league. They're sitting in that 8th and final playoff spot right now. We've got the same grade again. I gave him a C+. You gave him a C+.
Yeah.
I gave them the plus over St. Louis and Harrisburg because, they've had a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Dallas, 2 games against the Savage, 3 games against the Comets, 2 against the Wave. Tough schedule. Dallas looks good this season. And they've shown that they can be a dangerous team.
At home. So, 3-0 at home, 0-8 on the road, which is comical.
Yes.
They need more points. They need to pick up more points. We all expect them to make the playoff push,
right?
But that's 0-8 on the road is comical.
And the big thing that you keep talking about as well is the amount of times they're going to face the Outlaws, which who are winless on the season so far, and you think that they're going to pick up a ton of points there. It's also an opportunity for Texas to pick up points too, considering it's the Dallas Derby, and they do not like losing to their rivals, the Sidekicks. So, okay. We have got to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with our final rankings of the season, including the top dogs so far this year, one of the top dogs in the San Diego Sockers, or MASL Monday, coming back in just a moment. Welcome back, folks. MASL Monday here on CBS Sports Golazo. Alex Bastiavansky, Phil Levanco, as we enter our final segment and talk about one of the big boys in the league this season. We're going to get to them in the second half of the segment because first, let's go over a team that I was super high on to begin the season, Tacoma, playing Empire, who's had their number for the most part of the season, but they played 2 games this season. They split it. Tacoma takes it in a shootout, 6-5 on Saturday. On Sunday, they got absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
Back at Empire, 12-5. But no Pereira or Toth all weekend, Phil.
Yeah, we saw Nick Pereira behind the bench. We know there were beach commitments, so who knows fitness-wise where they were at. Tacoma, I've got him at a C for this season. I think it's inarguable how underwhelming the season's been, for them. And we expected more, frankly, and it just hasn't worked out for Tacoma. Tough schedule, we all know it, but you have to play the teams in front of you. And then for Empire, for me, really, it's a B-. I mean, I wanted to see more wins. I like the tactical wrinkles that Coach Obasi has given. I just want to see more results come from this.
Okay, so I gave Empire a B. Empire 6-1, 19 points, 6th in the league right now, so sitting in a playoff position. You're never sure right now, night to night. I feel like what you're going to get from Empire. They've definitely got
it's a fair question,
right. Like they've got they've got the talent to do some serious damage. They've got Marco Fabian, one of the top players in the league, obviously. But I've got them at a solid B. I've got them at a B. I like what I've seen. I could always see more, but they're a team that can pull some upsets, no question about it. Tacoma, I've given them a C- so far this season. And part of that is because I'm giving them some credit for the fact that they've just got a brutal schedule, but at the same time, I want to see more from Tacoma. I was super high on them. I mean, they're 1-3 against Empire this season. Like that's a team they have to beat. I'm not saying they're vastly more talented than Empire, but this is a team you're going to be battling for a playoff spot, and they're 1-3 against Empire. So we've only got like a minute and a half here. Let's get to San Diego cruises past Texas 10-3. We don't really need to talk about the game. It is, they destroyed them. Texas has got no points on the season so far, unfortunately. But let's talk about the Sockers. 9-1-0, 26 points, tied for first place. We've both given them A's so far. I mean,
the most complete team in the league, I think, goes without saying. Morales and Mendez have been huge additions. Mendez getting on the score sheet against his former team this weekend. We've got a lot of superlatives for the Sockers. The easiest one to say, though, is just that, they're humming along. And this is, what we expect from San Diego for sure. So an A from me.
Yeah, A for me as well. Again, just not an A+ because they dropped that opening game against Tacoma, which raised my expectations for Tacoma so much higher. But for Texas, we both given them D so far. Not an E, not an F because they've been close in a couple of games. Eddie's first year coach in there, and Eddie first year with Texas anyway. Tons of experience. Eddie's doing what he can. It's a new team for him. They will get it going. I think they're going to pick up a couple wins down the stretch, at least one possibly against Dallas, which, like I said, they'll be up for. But that's our report card. We wanted to go more in depth, but we're limited here. But that's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching MASL Monday on CBS Sports Golazo. Enjoy the games coming up over the next week. We'll see you next time.